who is a former or veteran here in the community within Germany. And Kelsey, as you mentioned, here with the Progressive Caucus, the global level leaders, we do have several people who are involved in the global level who would be happy to talk about what's going on at the global level of the Veterans and Military Families Caucus. Therese, Michael, Ron, happy to discuss this in more detail. But Robert, take this away.
Okay, I was born in South Carolina and decided to vote in Texas. So I'm not sure how much better I made it when I made the move. But South Carolina is an interesting place. What I'd like to do, first of all, this is going to be tricky for me because it normally takes me about 10 minutes to warm up my vocal cords. So to have this done in 10 minutes is going to be really tricky. And you can see I'm really high tech. As a matter of fact, normally when I start in classes, students say things to me like, are you going to post a copy of your slides, or are you going to make copies and give us a copy? And I tell them, yeah, take out a pencil and a piece of paper, and you're going to help me make these slides, okay? So today, you don't have to take out a pencil and a piece of paper, but if you want slides, that's what you're going to have to do. Okay, what I'd like to do is just mention a few things that are of interest to veterans and family members, and then I will elaborate on as many of them as I have time to elaborate on. As soon as Ron's clock goes off, I quit. That's the end of it. I'm not going to go beyond. So if you want to talk to me about anything else, you will have to meet me during the break. Okay, some of the things that veterans and family members are concerned about. Reimbursement for non-VA emergency room care. There are many veterans who end up in emergency rooms other than the VA, and they have to pay for it. And some folks feel that's not exactly right. Veterans Homeless Program. I'm going to elaborate on that a little because some of you will probably be surprised to find out who the fastest group of homeless veterans are. Potentially dangerous amounts of opioids being issued in some military hospitals. That's happening because of post-traumatic stress, and to deal with it, many of the hospitals are just issuing opioids. There's an argument now, a debate that says some of these illnesses can be treated with medical marijuana, and we'll see where that goes. Military housing crisis. On some bases, stateside and here in Europe, there's a real crisis as far as military housing is concerned. And again, I'll elaborate on as much of that as I have an opportunity to. But the last one, and the big one, is diversion of military construction funds for the border wall. Since you got excited about that one, we'll do that one second. But the first one I want to do is the veterans homeless community. Female veterans comprise the fastest growing segment of the homeless veteran population. Female veterans. And there may be more female veterans that are homeless than we're aware of, primarily because historically women have been reluctant to self-report themselves as veterans. Now, let me explain to you what I mean. After Korea and Vietnam, many women who served in the medical corps or as nurses felt that they weren't in combat, therefore they weren't veterans, and only folks who were out fighting should list themselves as veterans. Well, that has nothing to do with the definition of who a veteran should be. But the problem was, even in the military, people didn't understand who could call themselves veterans. So I'm going to give you the latest definition. Any person serving 2 years and gains an honorable discharge is considered a military veteran, male, female, or otherwise. 2 years of service, honorable discharge. There are some individuals who do not get an honorable discharge who also can call themselves veterans, but they can't avail themselves of all of the veterans' benefits. And that is people who fall in the category of a general discharge. They're veterans, but they're not allowed to use the GI Bill. And then lastly, those people who get other than an honorable discharge, which is an administrative discharge, many of them are entitled to some type of housing assistance. And the reason for that is this. About 2% of the homeless veterans, about 2% of veterans have other than honorable discharges, but about 15% of the homeless population are people with other than honorable discharges. So many of those folks are entitled to help, and as a matter of fact, the House very recently passed legislation that says they would like to assist even more in helping those veterans that are on the street. Well, it passed the House. Who knows what's going to happen in the Senate? Okay, let's get to the real fun one, and that is the diversion of funds. In September of 2019, Defense Secretary Esper agreed to free up $3.6 billion from the Pentagon budget for the border wall. $3.6 billion. But they stated the projects that were identified were not being canceled and would be delayed and would only be delayed so long as Congress agreed to backfill and fund them again. And I have a note here asking myself, and why would that happen? But they insist. If the Congress would just do the right thing and backfill these projects, wouldn't be a problem. The funds that were taken away ranged from renovation of schools in the U.S. and abroad, expansion of naval bases to accommodate more submarines. But the largest hit in this whole operation was $400 million taken away from Puerto Rico after the hurricane. The list also includes project to build up 9 DoD schools, 1 at Fort Campbell, 3 in Germany, 2 in Japan, and 1 in the UK. Okay, well, I'm sure you're thinking, well, we're glad that horror story is over. But wait, as of January 14th, 2020, the president decided that he's going to defer $3.7 billion from the defense budget for the border wall. So this is not over at all, and it stands a chance of continuing for quite some time if this individual remains in the White House. So I don't think I need to say a lot more about why we should try to get him out of the White House. Opioids. As I stated, one of the big concerns is that just too many opioids are being distributed. They're sort of being passed around. Some people say like candy. People are getting hooked on them. And then there's even more of a problem. So the question, can medical marijuana help some of the cases that opioids being used to help? I don't know, but it's probably something that should be investigated. and a lot of veterans groups are saying it definitely needs to be looked at because it just might keep from having a whole lot of additional people addicted. That's it. If you have additional questions, I'll gladly talk to you during the break. Thank you.